Jazakumullah khair. I was actually going to ask another question, but this actually goes very well with what you said, Dr. Badawi, and I think it's an important question. What do you do or say when a teenager says they are not sure they want to be a Muslim? How do you show them their purpose or ignite their iman?
I was just speaking now.
But you get to speak. We just.
I think that would be a very pertinent question also in a session, I think, on Sunday. How do we deal with the questions, hard question that our youth faces? But maybe before we say what you can do, what you shouldn't do. Because in reality, in many places and among many parents, it might be a big outburst. Yeah, kafir, you this. I raised you and taught you all that, and now you're saying you're not sure you become a Muslim. Take it gently. Because you're doing da'wah, and you might be doing the most important da'wah to your own child. Why is it then that we take the commands in the Quran to invite people, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة, in wisdom and beautiful exhortation. Hikmah, to appeal to the mind. موعظة الحسنة, to touch the heart. Again, the correlation between both. And we apply it to others when we invite them to Islam. And then when it comes to our child, we're so much offended that our effort went in vain. Actually, you need more wisdom and more beautiful exhortation in a case like that. And the first thing, instead of making judgment, don't be judgmental. Ask why. Just very gently, very quietly, composed. Why do you want to become a Muslim? Try to diagnose first the problem. Is it possibly a doubt that somebody threw in his mind? Is it a problem of a youth finding a big disparity between beautiful Islam, as we read in the Quran and Sunnah and the Seerah of the great Muslims, vis-a-vis actions of the Muslim community, and take the action of Muslim community as representative of Islam? So I don't want, instead of saying, I don't want to have anything to do with this corrupt Muslims, he carried it too far. I don't want to be a Muslim even, or have anything to do. And in that case, you have to deal with the discussion in a different way. The proper diagnosis, patience, and showing love above all. Even if you insist, I still don't believe, I don't accept. I'd say, be patient. But the worst thing is to cut the discussion or to break the communication, no matter what the person says or does. That's more dangerous, especially in a situation like we face in North America here, and in Europe, I suppose.
Yeah, my experience in dealing with this, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, a lot of it, not all of it, certainly a lot goes to what Dr. Jamal was saying about the beauty. We all have a responsibility to do our best to constitute a beautiful community, one that is welcoming, one that is very warm, one that is loving, one that encourages virtue, high ethical principles, etc. But some of it goes back to what Dr. Tariq Ramadan was mentioning with intellectual jihad. Our children are under assault. They go to school and teachers, there's at UC Berkeley, and this was one reason we started an Arabic program at Zaytuna College, Summer Arabic Intensive. They had a Summer Arabic Intensive. Muslim children are sitting in there. The professor goes to the board and he writes on the board, La ilaha, this is where I stop. And so our young people are under assault by an organized, very aggressive, chauvinistic, atheist movement. They have their stars, they have their literature, they have their sense of purpose. And so we have to respond to that. We have to know where to, so our children in many instances, they go to high school, they go to college, they'll pick up Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion, and say, oh my God. Or they'll pick up some of these other literature, or they'll pick up a book, slandering the Prophet ﷺ, but slandering him using Sahih Bukhari and taking things out of context. So we have to direct them to responses to that. And the responses are there. You know, there's so many refutations of Dawkins. He wrote The God's Delusion. There's an author, David Berlinski, wrote a book called The Devil's Delusion, Atheism and Its Scientific Pretensions. There's Lennox, God's Undertaker. Dawkins, he had no response for the classical Muslim Kalam cosmological argument. There's an incredible book, William Lane Craig, The Kalam Cosmological Argument, that he looks at this argument and then he looks at modern day philosophical substantiation for this argument. So we have to direct our children to this. We have to be able to put it in terms that they can understand by not being lazy. We have to familiarize ourselves with this literature, because Robert Crane wrote an incredible, I think, what's his book, The Divine Law of Universal Justice or something like that. Incredible response to Robert Spencer's attack on the Prophet ﷺ. He just mentions these distortions and then clarifies them with sound knowledge. So it's not enough to tell our children, oh, you're supposed to believe, a'udhu billah, how could you be an atheist? Or, that's not going to cut it. We have to say, don't worry about it. Listen, those arguments have been discussed by our scholars and they've all been refuted. And, if when you're ready, we can maybe introduce you to some books and we can read a book together. When we get done, we'll discuss it. So we have to walk them through it. And that's part of the intellectual jihad, in addition to the aspects that Dr. Tariq mentioned earlier.
I just want to say one comment on this, inshallah, is that an anecdote was just shared with me about a chaplain, and I won't say where because I don't want to identify the chaplain, but where just recently they had a student walk in and they were done with their college and they stated that I'm no longer a Muslim. I just wanted to tell you that. He sat them down for 2 hours, talked to them, and they had gone to this to a website, that had these things in there. After 2 hours, alhamdulillah, walked out back as a Muslim again. So the only reason I say that is to emphasize the importance of having people like Imam Zaid and the scholars here, as well as the chaplains that we have at our universities. So inshallah, it's just a reminder.